Assalamu alaikum. Today we'll talk about the sample space. The last time we talked about the random experiment, and we knew that it's an experiment where we can expect all the possible outcomes, but we cannot predict which one is going to happen. Like tossing a coin. So when you toss a coin, you expect that you may get a head or tail. But you can't say that it's going to be heads or it's going to be tails. Both of them are expected to occur. So what's the sample space? The sample space is a set where all the possible outcomes of a random experiment are found. So as an example, when tossing a coin, we expect getting heads or getting tails. So the sample space, as we denote to as S, equals heads and tails. This is the sample space for tossing a coin once. So what if we toss the coin twice? Tossing the coin for the first time, you get a head or tail. Then you toss it another time, you get heads or tails. So at that time, we expect the following. The first time and the second time. So maybe you get in the first time heads, and in the second time you get tails. Or you get tails in the first time, heads in the second time. Or you get both tails or heads. All of these are possible outcomes. So the sample space in this case will be first we have heads and tails, or tails, then heads, or tails in both times, or heads and both times. We can conclude from this that our possible outcomes are heads and tails, and we tossed the coin for 2 times. Then our possible outcomes are 4, and 2 of power 2 equals 4. Back to the first example, our 2 possible outcomes are heads and tails. There are 2, and we tossed the coin for once. 2 of power 1 gives 2, and our sample space or sample set contains only 2 outcomes, which were heads and tails. So, if we repeated the same experiment, which has 2 possible outcomes, heads and tails, for 3 consecutive times, the sample set or the sample space will contain 8 possible outcomes. Let's try this. The first time, second time, third time. So we can get all heads or all tails, or heads, tails, tails, or heads, heads, tails, or tails, heads, tails, or maybe tails, tails, heads, or heads, tails, heads, or finally tails, tails, heads. These are 8 possible outcomes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So, as we have just expected, the possible outcomes are 8. So simply, in order to know the number of possible outcomes and a sample space, you have your predictions or your possible single outcomes, which are heads and tails. Those are the elements or the results of the experiment, and then you raise it to the power of the number of times that you repeat the experiment, as we have just done. We raised 2 to the power of 3, so we got 8 possible outcomes. So the sample space will contain 8 possible outcomes, and we write them this way. So the first one will be heads, 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 then we close the bracket, and then we type the next, tails, 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 and so on, till the sample set ends. And this is it for today. I hope it was clear for you. And until the next time, I thank you for watching and see you.